My name is Tim Lizotte, and this is my wife Katie, and we're here at our farm, Freedom Creek Farm, and we primarily raise pasture fed, grass-fed beef, and as well we have our own herd of horses. We used to breed, don't do that so much anymore. It's kind of more for the pleasure end of things, and we also grow and sell hay as well as a crop. So that's kind of our primarily what we do here on the farm. I want it to be a natural space where I'm growing a crop, I'm growing a product, but at the same time I'm kind of fitting in with where we are. And we kind of have a neat spot here in the Ganaraska watershed, and it's nice to be able to be part of what's happening.
When we bought this farm 3 years ago, there was cattle pastured over the entire property, and they were allowed to go wherever they wanted. So we saw kind of firsthand the way that they were managed. I was like, you know, that's not a very good steward when your cattle are destroying habitat. So, I mean, that was one of our first projects that were like, we have to keep them out of the stream, have to keep them out of the pond and out of the woods. And financially, we would not have been able to do that without SARFIP's help. It would have been a dream, but not a reality.
And, we have a little bit of everything out here, so that was another thing that was top on the list. I think was that the first one we did?
Yeah.
The first one we did was this one, was fencing out the woods and the wetlands in here, and then we moved next to the streams and the marshes to the north. So letting the woods do their thing with minimal impact. Well, this is obviously one of our SARFIP projects. This is a stream crossing with a culvert. We've built it up and filled it in with gravel, so we have a livestock crossing to access pasture and keep them out of the stream. Now without the cattle, the water's, you know, clean and clear, and also just the naturalization along the banks. No longer is it just kind of slumping and mud into the stream. You've got all, you know, there's goldenrod and other natural species that attract the birds and the bees. SARFIP provided the funding for putting in a rotational system and getting a solar-powered fencer. The funding was there, and this also helps with the whole system of keeping some level of mature grasses for the meadow birds, and it's good for your own management of the system too, for the feed and for the cattle. So they've seemed to have gotten along just fine, and they've put on some weight this year and done pretty well, and the birds like it too. You see all the dog strangling vine? You know, those are those little pods, eh? And the vine's growing up, you can see it there. And that dog strangling vine can cover a forest floor in really a matter of just a few years. And then you've lost all the understory, all the things that are coming up, and now that's also part of the good programs, the funding to help some of that, right? Whether you have to dig and uproot the roots and cut, and your bush hogging and tractor backhoe time, all that kind of stuff, right? The funding does really help there too. I think any little bits that you can have to sort of get the system working back the way it is, right? And more diversity, more habitat, the more sort of pieces that we pull out of it, right? The more broken the pieces are, and not everybody maybe is in a position to do some of the things that we've been able to do, but even a little bit, even if everybody had a little section that they could interconnect. So maybe in their farm, if they had an area that they could protect or make a little bit of a corridor that connected to the neighbors who had a little piece in a project, and then at least we haven't isolated everything into little pockets, right? And that makes it a lot better for animals, for species, you know, it's one thing to have one area, but if they're not connected to any other areas. So I mean, that's, I think, where it takes more people and numbers, and it doesn't have to be everything, right?
I would definitely recommend SARFIP to other farmers because, I mean, you have a list of things that you'd like to do on your farm, and to be able to do this with help with funding takes such a load off.
and as well, obviously, help species at risk and the habitat